Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive into a career path that's a little bit, heated?
Heated, I like that.
We're tackling industrial firefighting today, and let me tell you, it's not your average fire station gig. We're lucky enough to have some awesome resources from RoleCatcher to help us break it all down, especially their Industrial Firefighter, the complete career guide. It's packed with insights.
It really is. When people think of firefighting, they usually picture, well, a house fire or a cat stuck in a tree. But industrial firefighting, that's a whole different beast.
So no kittens involved in this kind of firefighting.
Probably not many kittens, no. We're talking about massive industrial complexes, chemical plants, power stations, places where even a small fire could turn into a major disaster if it's not handled correctly.
Okay, so definitely high stakes. What makes these situations so different from, say, your average building fire?
Well, think about what's in those industrial settings. It's not just wood and furniture. You've got volatile chemicals, all sorts of complex machinery, intricate systems. Each one has its own hazards.
So it's not just about putting out the flames, it's about knowing how to handle a potential hazmat situation at the same time.
Exactly. That's where that in-depth knowledge becomes absolutely crucial. Industrial firefighters need to be like walking encyclopedias of chemical reactions, industrial safety protocols. They even need to understand the engineering behind these facilities.
Wow, it sounds like they're almost like detectives in a way, always looking for potential hazards before they become a problem.
That's a great way to put it. They work hand in hand with engineers and safety managers to try to prevent those incidents from happening in the first place. Remember that typical interactions section in the RoleCatcher guide? That really jumped out at me.
Oh yeah, what was it about that section that caught your eye? I mean, I'd assume most of their interactions with other firefighters, right? Teamwork and all that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Teamwork is key. But in this line of work, you're also coordinating with a whole team of professionals. You've got engineers, facility managers, even folks from regulatory agencies. You need to be able to communicate really clearly with people from all different backgrounds.
So it's not enough to just be brave and physically fit, which I'm sure are both important. You also need top-notch communication and interpersonal skills. It's like a high-pressure office job, but with the added possibility of explosions.
Ah, you got it. And you know what else? RoleCatcher highlights how technology is playing a bigger and bigger part.
Okay, let's talk tech. What's changing in the world of industrial firefighting? Drones, robots.
Well, you're on the right track with drones. They've become really essential, I mean it. They use them for everything from getting an aerial view of the situation to actually assessing the hazards.
I can see how that would be helpful. No need to send a firefighter into a potentially dangerous area blind.
Right. They can use a drone to figure out where the hazard zones are,
Yeah.
how much the fire has spread, and even the safest way to get in and out. It's pretty amazing.
That's wild. So not only do you need to be a skilled firefighter, you also need to be a bit of a safety inspector, A&D, tech savvy enough to work with drones. What a multi-talented career.
It is. There's a lot more to uncover about industrial firefighting.
Well, I'm definitely intrigued. Let's dig into some of the must-have skills you'd need to actually thrive in a high-pressure environment like that, because it sounds like you need a unique blend of physical and mental agility.
Absolutely. And luckily, the RoleCatcher Career Guide breaks down those key skills in a way that's super helpful. So you'd think with all that action, active listening wouldn't be at the top of the list, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it makes sense that any first responder would need to be a good listener, but how is that different in this line of work?
It's different because of the environment. Imagine you're in the middle of this huge industrial complex, and an engineer is giving you instructions about, say, a specific valve that has to be shut off. Or maybe there's a chemical leak, and you need to get info to the hazmat team quickly. Clear communication is essential, especially with all that pressure.
So it's not just about taking orders. It's about really understanding the situation, asking the right questions. Everyone needs to be on the same page or things can go south really fast.
100%.
Mhm.
Then you've got coordination, which is another skill that's amplified in industrial firefighting. Like RoleCatcher had this one example picture. You're in full hazmat gear trying to fight a fire, and you got to coordinate with your team who are also in those bulky suits to move this heavy piece of equipment into place.
Okay, yeah. Coordination in a situation like that is a whole different animal. I mean, you've got limited visibility, you can't move as easily, and oh yeah, there's a fire. It's a lot to handle.
And that's not even getting to the critical thinking skills you need. Every firefighter needs that. But in these situations, it's crucial.
Can you give me an example? Like what kind of split-second decisions would you have to make?
Let's say there's a fire in, I don't know, a factory that makes plastics. You get there, and the first thing you got to do is assess. What chemicals are we dealing with? What are the hazards here? And then the big one. How do we put this fire out without making things worse?
So you're not just reacting to what's in front of you. You have to be thinking 10 steps ahead. You need to know the risks and adapt your plan based on the situation at hand.
You've got it. And that right there, being able to stay calm and make the right call in those high-pressure moments, that's what sets apart those firefighters who are ready to climb the ranks.
Well, speaking of climbing the ranks, RoleCatcher talks about these 4 different career stages for industrial firefighters. Seems like there's a lot of room to move up if you put in the work.
There is. You could start as an entry-level firefighter and work your way up to a senior role, even become a chief officer. It's all laid out there.
So take us through those stages. What does that career progression look like? What do you start with?
So at the entry level, it's all about the basics. You're learning from the more experienced firefighters, figuring out how to use all the different equipment. You're basically soaking up everything you can about industrial safety. Very hands-on.
So like an apprenticeship almost.
Yeah, you could say that. Then, as you get more experience, you move into that junior firefighter role. More responsibility, obviously. Now you're directly involved in fighting the fires, operating the equipment, even helping out with the investigations after an incident.
Oh, right. That's where those investigative skills we talked about come into play.
Yep. Because if you can figure out what caused the fire, you can stop it from happening again. So even as a junior firefighter, you're thinking about the bigger picture, fire prevention and safety.
That's cool. Okay, so you've moved up from junior firefighter. What's next?
Next up is the senior firefighter level, and that's where you really step into a leadership position.
How so? What does a senior firefighter do differently?
At that point, you're not just responsible for yourself. You might be training and supervising those junior firefighters. You could be in charge of risk assessments. You might even be the one calling the shots at an incident until the chief officer gets there.
Wow, so you're a leader, a mentor, a decision maker, big shoes to fill. Okay, so then there's the top of the ladder, the head honcho, the big cheese, the chief industrial firefighter. What does that job involve?
The chief. They're basically running the show. Think big picture. Managing the budget for the department, overseeing all the personnel, developing fire prevention programs. They work directly with those regulatory agencies we talked about, making sure everything's up to code.
So they've gone from fighting fires to preventing them and managing the whole fire safety operation. That's incredible.
It's a demanding path, but it shows you the range of skills you need to really excel in this line of work.
I can only imagine. Okay, so let's say someone is listening and they're thinking, all right, this sounds amazing, but how do I make this happen? How do I actually land one of these jobs? And that's where RoleCatcher really shines, right? They don't just tell you about the job, they help you get hired.
Exactly. And they've got a really smart system for it, too. They have this whole section called Jobs, where you can look at actual job descriptions for industrial firefighters.
Oh, so you can see what employers are looking for. That's incredibly helpful.
Right. It's like a cheat sheet for your job hunt. And they don't stop there. They know interviews can be nerve-wracking, so they have a whole section on that, too.
Oh, tell me about it. Interviews are the worst. What does RoleCatcher do to help with those?
Well, they've got this database, right? And it has over 120,000 potential interview questions.
120,000?
Yeah.
Seriously?
I know, it sounds crazy. But it covers tons of industries and roles, industrial firefighting included, so you're ready for anything.
That's nuts. Okay, but how do you wade through all those questions?
That's where the AI comes in. And it's pretty slick. It actually helps you tailor your answers based on the specific job you're going for.
So no more generic answers. It's like having a personalized interview coach in your back pocket.
Exactly. And it gets better. Remember how we were talking about how important a good CV is? Well, RoleCatcher's AI can analyze your CV too.
Really? What does it do? Like give it a grade?
It does more than that. It points out areas where you could improve, see? And it compares your CV to the skills and keywords that pop up in a lot of the industrial firefighting jobs out there.
That's so helpful. They've thought of everything. So you're not just throwing your CV out into the void and hoping for the best.
Right. You're putting your best foot forward.
It really sounds like RoleCatcher has all the bases covered.
They really do.
Yeah.
And the best part is, a lot of these resources are totally free. You can create an account and start exploring those career guides, check out the skill guides, even test out the interview stuff without spending a dime.
Seriously, that's amazing. Anyone who's even a little bit curious about industrial firefighting, or any career change really, should check out RoleCatcher. They make it so easy. Well, that was fascinating. Industrial firefighting definitely seems like its own world. It's demanding, no doubt, but so rewarding if you're the kind of person who thrives under pressure and loves to solve problems.
And with all the technology coming into play in those industrial settings, It's only going to get more complex, more interesting.
Definitely something to think about. And with the need for safety and prevention always top of mind, it sounds like there's a lot of room for growth in this field. Speaking of things to think about, here's a question for you to ponder as we wrap up. With more and more automation coming to industries like robots and AI, how do you see the role of an industrial firefighter evolving? Will we start seeing firefighting robots or even AI systems that can predict fires before they happen? It's food for thought. But for now, we'll let you go. Head over to RoleCatcher and explore this amazing career path a little more. See if it's your kind of fire. That's it for today's deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.